Hey, beautiful people. Welcome to the BU podcast. I'm your host, Ariel Vaughan Bredder. My mission is to empower people to become the best versions of themselves so that they can live their best lives. I'm redefining success so people stop living the lives they think they should live and start living the lives they love. Join me weekly as I share my own insights and speak with guests that have embraced their unique gifts into living life on their terms. I hope these conversations inspire you to make the most out of your life by being your best self. Remember, be you, be beautiful. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Be You. I am just so glad to be returning after a much needed break. I've missed you guys so much and I've missed releasing episodes, but I have so many interviews to share with you all that are just going to really help you shift your mindset and become the best version of you. I just can't wait to share them with you guys. But for now, I am so excited to kick off this new season of Be You with an interview that will change your life. I got to speak with the founder and CEO of Get Zen, Zahra Karsan, about her book, 6 Weeks to Happy, the ultimate roadmap to retrain your brain for better health, greater abundance, and long-lasting happiness. Like, who doesn't want better health, abundance, and happiness? And when I got to speak with Zahra at the end of last year, I had just received my copy of the book in the mail and I hadn't gotten a chance to read it yet. And since talking to her, I immediately dove into the book. So I was like, I need this in my life. And it really opened my eyes. And I'll be honest, I was a bad student and I didn't commit to doing the activities over 6 weeks. But just from reading the book, it just really helped me to shift my perspective about things and just learn some new tools that helped me. And the thing that just really stuck out to me that I hadn't realized is that I had been living in this state of stress. Everything that I was doing, my stress level was just so heightened and it just made everything so much worse. And since then, I've been able to eliminate some stuff and I've just gotten back to this state of calm. And by being in this state of calm, I've just been less stressed and anxious about daily activities. And when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm genuinely able to say that I'm doing really well. And that's huge for me. I feel like there have been times where people ask me how I'm doing and you say oh, I'm doing great. And you kind of are lying about it. You don't really feel like you're doing that great, but they ask you, "Hey, how are you?" and you're not going to spill your whole life story. That's me. I'm not, an overshare or whatever. But now when people ask, I'm just I'm actually doing really well and it feels amazing. And that's just from me talking to Zahra and reading the book and, not incorporating all the activities. So I think this is just such a game changer. And so if you have been like me and you haven't really felt genuinely happy or genuinely good when people ask you, this episode is for you. And in this episode, Zahra walks us through her Rewire System, which is the process that she created. She took her 30 years of experience and created it into this simple 6-week program to help people retrain and rewire their brain for happiness. It's insane to think that we can spend so much time in this negativity state, the stressful state, and feeling overwhelmed and just not being happy. But if we just take some time to learn about our brain and make small shifts, and I'm talking really small, doable shifts, then we can reverse our brains in just 6 weeks. That's just so crazy. Before talking to Zahra, I didn't really know much about neuroplasticity, and just knowing that we have power over our brains is just amazing to me. So in this episode, you're going to learn more about that. So I'm just so excited to share this with you. And, you're going to learn a little bit of tips from this episode, but then I highly recommend that you go and pick up a copy of this book, 6 Weeks to Happiness. By reading this book, you're going to create a change in your life and create lasting happiness. I'm just so excited. And I can't wait to hear your takeaways from this episode and see how you're doing in 6 weeks. So stay connected. Let us know, what you've gotten from the book and how your life has changed. I can't wait to hear from you. Enjoy this episode. Before we get into the show, I wanted to take a moment to share how I host my podcast using Anchor. It's free and easy to use. You can record and edit using your phone or computer, and then Anchor distributes your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. It's super easy to use and they do the work for you. I highly recommend using Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Now, on to the show. All right, Zahra, thank you so much for being on the BU podcast today. Will you just start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Sure. Thank you, Ariel. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for having me on your show. My name is Zahra Karsan. I'm an author and success coach, and I have a coaching company called Get Zen, which is essentially to deliver services to help people really boost human potential. So going from surviving to thriving, from stress to success.
Awesome. I think that's like what we all need right now and want. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited. And today we're really going to focus on your new book. I'm really excited because I just got mine in the mail. It's called Six
Oh.
Weeks to Happy. Yeah, I'm so excited. I haven't jumped into it yet, but I'm just like the title alone. I'm like, I need this book. And I know my audience listening needs it too. Yeah, but it's called 6 Weeks to Happy, the ultimate roadmap to retrain your brain for better health, greater abundance, and long lasting happiness. So I love it. But first, I want to go back a little bit and find out a little bit more about you and like, what has your own experience with finding happiness been like?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, if I take you back to, to my journey, I realize it all makes sense to bring me exactly to this point. We've heard that saying, you're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
So I was born in South Africa during apartheid. And so I experienced some things at a very young age that are, they're frustrating and confusing emotions to process when you're that little,
Yeah.
to really observe discrimination and injustice at a young age. The way the human mind works is just fascinating. And I've always been so excited by the human condition and the human journey. And so we decide at a very young age these little untruths about ourselves that live in the subconscious, like I'm not enough, or I don't feel safe, or I feel alone in this world, or I may never find love, or I'm not really lovable or deserving of love or wealth. And I thought, so the one that operated most for me was that, I'm not good enough, I'm not enough. And as I went
Yeah.
through my life, I realized this is not just me. Everyone is having some version of this. So this is interesting. And I
Yeah.
decided, well, that was not going to be my story. I knew I wanted a really grand life. I wanted to be excited and inspired and charmed by the life I was living. I didn't want to just go through the motions of life. I wanted to discover it and really design it my way. And so
Yeah.
I thought, this is not going to be the end of my story. I'm going to figure out how to uncover the human condition and really discover how to tap into our personal power and rewrite that story. So I thought, what, that good enough story, well, that's not good enough for me. So I said, I set down a path of really wanting to study the human mind, human behavior, what makes us tick, and what separates those highly successful people that seem to have it all together from the rest of us who seem to get stuck more easily.
Mhm.
And so I studied psychology. And then I made a safe choice, because this is what we do, right? Made a
Yeah.
safe choice and decided to go into a career. And so I went into telecoms and project management. And, I got to a very high level. My first career was as a management consultant for over 20 years. And I was working with high level, C-level executives and, achieved a great level of success. So my path was, we're sort of taught to achieve goals, and then somehow that should bring us success and happiness. So
Right.
I did that. We were children, then we're students, and then we join the workforce, and then we're paying bills, and somewhere you figure out what you want to do or what you might like to do or how to make more money. And so I thought career success and financial success and having an exciting life. I did have an exciting life. I had a nice quality of life. I could vacation, I could buy what I want. I had a beautiful home. I was so tightly wound. So tightly wound. I was in the office one day. I was working on a major project, and I remember walking to the office and just like I was just doing everything so quickly, walking fast, breathing fast, and it was this moment. It was this aha moment where I thought, man, I feel like I've been running a marathon with no finish line.
Mm, yeah.
It was almost that point of burnout where I thought, how many of us are doing the same thing? We've just been running this race with no idea when it's going to stop. But something was missing in my life. You know, there wasn't true joy, there wasn't true excitement. Yes, I enjoyed my work, but my physical body was a tightly wound mess. I was so stressed, so strung out, and I thought, there's got to be another way. And so I set down this path of trying to discover what that is. So I started studying. After my psychology degree, I did postgraduate studies in neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy because I wanted to uncover and harness the power of the subconscious. So we are 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious. And so,
Oh, wow.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I was like, I knew subconscious was a big part of it, but I didn't realize it was that large
That
of a
big.
percentages. Yeah.
Yeah. So most of how we live and operate is in the 5%.
Yeah.
So what if you could tap into that 95%? What if you could learn to reset, rewire, rewrite your story and learn to perform better in everything? Find deeper love and connections, find greater joy, find passion and purpose and excitement in your life again, and really just redesign your life. So after I figured out, you know, sort of how the subconscious works, because that's your operating system, if you can think of it that way. So the mind doesn't come with an instruction book, it's a computer, right? And a computer is only as good as your operating system. And that's the 95% of you. And most of us don't know how to tap into that and really get the most out of life and most out of ourselves. So I thought, this is what I want to study next. So then I studied neuroscience because I wanted to understand optimal brain health, how the brain and the central nervous system work together, what that fight or flight and stress response really is, and how to unwrap, you know, and find the tools we need to live a fuller life, to find our way back to balance, to reduce our stress or destroy it altogether, the cause of the stress. You know, it's that whole idea of you know, treating the symptoms versus finding the underlying cause. Well, if
Mm-hmm.
your stress is giving you high blood pressure, sure, you can take a pill for high blood pressure, but wouldn't it be much more effective to tap into the cause of the stress and figure
Right.
out how to better manage our lives? So that was, you know, and that was neuroscience helped me to put some of that together. And then I decided to study applied positive psychology because psychology is, you know, dealing with mental illness and how to get us to neutral. Positive psychology takes us from neutral to thriving. So I thought, that's what I want to study, human flourishing. I want to study this and really get all of the tools that we need to create the life that we dream of.
Right.
So that's a
Wow.
bit of my path. Long story, but that's the path I took to get here.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm kind of curious. Like while you were studying all of these things, were you still working or what was that phase of your life kind of like?
I was working, and then I left the consulting business, and I had all of these great tools, and I went down this path. So that moment of burnout, I decided, okay, I'm gonna put something into practice. I took some time off work, and I'm gonna put some of these tools into practice, and I felt hugely better. Within 3 weeks, I started to
Wow.
feel lighter. I started to feel like everything was coming easily in my life. I wasn't struggling anymore. Within a few more weeks, I thought, okay, this is magic. I need to teach people how to do this. But I wanted to understand the science behind it, which is
Hmm.
why I did all of the studies. So then I quit my consulting job and I said, let me build an app. I'm going to
Yeah.
build an app and I'm going to put all of these great tools into an app so people can take this wherever they go. And then I realized, okay, that's not enough. I need to educate people on all of this research that I've done. And I started seeing patterns in the data. And I thought, this is something I can teach. So there was definitely a reason to the path that I took, you know,
Yeah.
being a management consultant, learning systems and methodologies and processes. And I'm designed to be efficient. So I want to deliver a system that's quick and easy to use and delivers maximum benefit, right? So I decided, let me create a system to teach people how to do this for themselves. So I created the Rewire System, which is
Great.
essentially a 6-week program, 3 tools per week, which are easy to learn and easy to implement to retrain the brain, the body back to calm, retrain and learn all of those tools, how to regulate our energy better, how to manage our lives better. And like I said at the start, you know, nobody really asks you when you go through life, what makes you happy? What do you need to really
Hmm.
feel as though you're living your best life. And so
Yeah.
I thought, exactly. And then in my coaching practice, hundreds and hundreds of clients, and I just thought, the whole point of being a coach is to help people get from A to B. So where are you now? Where would you like to be? And as we started to dig in, I realized, wow, so many people can't actually even answer the question, what makes you happy? So I
Mhm.
thought there's something here. What is that elusive state of happiness? There's something here that we can unwrap and unpack. And if I can put a set of tools together that can help people get there and give them a very clear roadmap for how to have that greater love, how to have more wealth and abundance in their life, how to have deeper connections, more joy, more fulfillment, less stress, just better everything. Why don't I do that? And so that's how this book was born. And so 6 weeks to happy actually has that program within it and a workbook to take you through the entire journey yourself, so you can learn these tools and have a life that finally excites you.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I mean, it's so crazy that, asking people what makes them happy, a lot of us can't answer that because we're just in this world of like we see outside things and we're like, oh, that should make us happy. Or if I have
Mhm.
this, six-figure job and I look on the outside like I'm happy and I have all these things, but does it
Yeah.
really make you happy? A lot of people, they need to really have time to like reflect and find out what happiness actually looks like for them because it's not the same for everybody. And that's
It
okay.
You're absolutely right. It's not the same for everybody. It's a unique formula. And I know this is what I love about connecting with you, is because part of what you do is uncovering how to become your best self so you can live your best life. And the reality is, as I started doing all of this research, I realized diving into needs and values. So needs are, what do you need specifically that makes you happy? And what makes you happy and what makes you feel alive and makes your body thrive, and it makes you feel like you're living, your most vibrant self, your most vibrant life is going to be very different than your brother, your sister, your coworker. It's really
Mhm.
unique to you, and your strengths and your talents are unique to you. You're uniquely gifted to bring something to this world. And it's usually, if you can figure out how to align that with your passion and what excites you, that's usually where your gift is, where you find meaning as
Mhm.
well. So it just was so fascinating. So this is really, a guidebook for how to tap into and define uniquely your personal plan.
Yeah. So yeah, tell us more about like how this book is laid out.
Okay.
Like are there like prompts or questions or like is it just like factual? Like what's the format?
Yeah, so I really wanted to take, how do you take 30 years of research and distill it down into a formula that's easy to understand and relatable for most people? So,
Mhm.
that's what I set out to do, was take a lot of this research and break it down for people. So the book is structured in three parts. The first part really finding what is happiness. And we even talk about the four bodies. So we have it's not just our physical body that we need to look. So for example, when I was having my breakdown moment, my almost nervous breakdown moment of high stress in the corporate environment, I realized there's more to life than, if I'm not managing my mental and emotional health, and my physical body is actually alarming, it's acting as an alarm. It's showing me signs of high stress. So I need to
Yeah.
learn to manage the other bodies. So we have a spiritual or energetic body, we have a mental body, we have an emotional body, and a physical body. And so it's really learning the tools for how to manage all of those systems and get them in alignment so that you're really in harmony and working with what's right for you, what feels good for you, and then discarding and eliminating all of those negative thoughts patterns, all of those negative emotions that get us stuck, that stop us from having that deep love and connection that we want, or that job or career that we want, or really what's preventing us from living our best life. So the book is structured in three parts. The first is it takes you through the research and why each of these components is important. Then it takes you
Mhm.
through the actual Rewire System, that 6-week program that I told you about. So you learn 3 tools per week, and each tool is designed to be an intervention for one or more of the bodies. So some tools work on mental emotional release to help you align, get rid of stress, retrain the body, retrain the brain and the nervous system back to balance. Because we have, I'll give you an example of some of the research. So we have a built-in fight or flight response. We're actually wired for survival rather than happiness, which is why it's so difficult to always find it. You know, there aren't, if you look around your world, there aren't that many people around us that have figured out the secrets to long-lasting happiness. So I was really intrigued by this, and I realized we have a built-in negativity bias. We are designed to be on high alert for danger. And so
Mhm.
that's called the fight or flight response. And I'm sure you've heard of that. So, you know, it actually acts as gas pedal, gives us a rush of energy and adrenaline that helps us quickly get to safety. Now, in the past, when life was slower, our brains would signal our bodies to return back to calm. But these days, life is so busy, we have unconsciously strengthened our stress response, just like going to the gym. So
Right.
if you strengthened your, if you work hard and you lift weights and you strengthen your muscles, what we've unconsciously done is we've strengthened our stress response because we're constantly being triggered by the demands of daily life today. Anything requiring your time, money, energy. You know, yes, sure, there's some pleasure when your phone pings, but at
Mhm.
this point, there's so many channels. There's, you know, WhatsApp, there's voicemail, there's phone calls, there's text, there's all your social media channels. And some of that creates stress because it's all something requiring something of you, your time, your energy,
Right.
your money. So
Oh, I
every
love how you, sorry to interrupt, but I love how you give that example of like that you are, it's kind of like strengthening your stress response because you hear about the flight or fight, and we're like, oh, we're not trying to like run away from, saber-toothed tigers anymore. So like it hasn't caught up, but it is like,
yeah,
oh wow, we are actually strengthening that muscle of being stressed because we have different
totally.
stresses in our life. So that makes so much
Yeah.
sense.
Absolutely. And so the question is, how do we reset, rewire so that we can perform better and be the best version of ourselves? I think a lot of the answer is, you know, going back to that, we're 5% conscious mind, 95% subconscious. And if you think of the mind as a computer, then your subconscious is your operating system. It runs your emotions, your thought patterns, and your behavior. So if what we've been doing so far is only living in that 5%, imagine the power you could tap into if you could access that 95%. And
Mhm.
so part of it is you know, all of these little bits of research into, you know, just an education for people, how the brain works, how the body and the central nervous system works, how the stress response works, and then tools and techniques for rewiring and resetting back to calm so that we can find that productivity and that focus that we need. And then it also goes into, you know, some subconscious patterns in terms of our belief systems around love, around money, around career, around financial success, around life in general, in terms of, you know, getting off that hamster wheel and being able to really choose a life, consciously make the choices every day so that we can live our best life.
Yeah. I mean, and everything is just so connected. So it's like if you really do like rewire your brain, it's like so much is going to come from that. Like I just love that kind of ripple effect. But
Absolutely.
yeah, and will you tell us about because Rewire, your Rewire system is an acronym. Will you kind of break that down for us?
Sure. Well, Rewire is really about the whole idea of neuroplasticity, first of all. So, what that is that the brain is not static, it's not unchangeable. In fact, it's dynamic and it can be rewired or reset within a period of 6 weeks. So, the latest research in the neuroscience world is we can now actually see with the latest technologies and fMRI and brain scans that the brain actually shows signs of a lasting change within a 6 week period. In fact, it peaks between 35 and 42 days. So the Rewire system was built around that, how to create lasting change. If the brain can show this change in 6 weeks, I wanted to put together a 6 week system to teach people how to do that. So Rewire is an
Yeah.
acronym, as you said. And the first is learning to relax and quiet the mind, because if we're always living in a high state of stress, then, you know, we've got that monkey brain going on all of the time. We've got all of those voices going on. If you think about when you wake up on a Monday to Friday, if you've got a normal career, you wake up on a Monday to Friday, do you wake up peaceful with your mind quiet, or do you wake up already busy and planning for the
Mhm.
day ahead? You know?
Yeah.
So the first step is really learning to quiet down and start your day off with that feeling of peace. And while you're learning to do that, it actually has so many benefits on the brain, on the central nervous system, on the body, on your immune system. And it starts to rewire and calm down all of your stress response. So as you're learning to quiet the mind, you're also reprogramming the body back to calm so that you
Mhm.
can get there and maintain that and then return there when you do get triggered, because life happens, stress happens. So that's the
Yeah.
first module, and there are 3 tools in there. I don't have time to go through all of the tools in this program. The second one
Right. Yeah. I was
is
like, get the book.
get the book for sure. The second is eliminating the noise. So this is where you get to do a deeper dive into those needs and values that I talked about earlier, where really defining who you are as a person and what you need versus you know as I said, we went through all of the motions growing up. So we're children, and then we're students, and then we start school, and then we get a job, and most people don't really stop to think about what they're doing. So there are all of these demands requiring your energy, requiring your time. And so eliminating the noise is really learning about ego depletion, which is really about emotional intelligence and managing and balancing your energy levels. So really
Mhm.
looking at the things that take your energy. So I'll give you an example. The easy ones are family, so spousal, children, family demands, people needing your time, people needing access to you, and then work demands. But the
Yeah.
things that people don't know about, for example, that require energy are multitasking. The brain actually doesn't multitask, it task switches, and every time it does that, it takes energy. But if you can look at how you manage your day and how you manage your time, you can actually streamline things a little bit. And if you have an understanding of how the brain works and what's taking your energy, you can make smarter choices in how you spend your time and actually be far more productive. Another
Yeah.
thing that takes time is decision making. So if you've got big decisions to make, if you're managing people, these things take energy. If you have physical pain in your body, it takes energy for you to sort of ignore that or downplay so that you can carry on with your day. So if you think of that at the start of the day and going through all of these demands, by the time you get to the end of the day, you're running on empty.
Yeah.
And so most of us don't really know how to manage our energy and how to replete and restore our energy. So that's one of the tools. And then figuring out how to make those changes in your life. And they're just small shifts. They're not massive changes. This is not this doesn't have to be a huge life change. Just like, when you start a diet, big diets don't really work. Extreme diets don't really work. What works is small lifestyle changes for maximum benefit. That's
Mhm.
sustainable. That's something that's easy to do. That's something you can commit to. And so the tools are built like that. They're built to be easy to implement, easy for you to learn, and they just have a huge bang for their buck. And
I love
so,
it.
yeah, thank you. And so module 3, which is the W in Rewire, is what do you need? So this is when we tap into how to define your needs, and we break it down into areas of your life. So it gives you a step-by-step guide on how to map this all out and then how to make those changes that you need. And then we go into, what are your values? Values are really what's important to you. So for
Yes.
example of a personal value would be freedom or autonomy. But for someone else, what they value might be consistency. So somebody
Mhm.
that values consistency would need to be more in a stable job, likes to have things planned out. Somebody that values excitement and adventure and freedom is going to be more spontaneous. They might choose a different career that gives them that flexibility and that freedom that they need. But if you don't know this about yourself, and you've built a life just because you've gone down that path and you're on that train that you chose back when you were 18 or 25,
Mhm.
how do you change it? Well, this is how you change it, by tapping into a deeper level of self-awareness and really understanding what lights you up and what excites you. If you can figure out your top 3 to 5 values, then build a life around that. That's a game changer.
Yes, that's actually what I was going to say. I was like, oh, it's such a game changer.
Right? Oh, perfect. We're aligned.
Yes.
And then and the I then is, so now you've discarded all the noise, you've learned how to move away from negative emotions, you've learned how to shut down those old belief systems so that they don't operate in you anymore. So the next is, okay, now that you've got a blank slate, what do you want? And so this is about imagining a whole new life. And I go through a whole series of exercises to help you redesign redefine a life that would really light you up.
Mm.
And then in the final R is really going back to that whole concept of neuroplasticity, is making sure that you can create a personalized daily practice. So some set of these tools that you can use on an ongoing basis to make sure that you don't shift back. You don't shift back
Yeah.
to being reactionary, to just surviving in your own life, but actually stay on a program that has you thriving and flourishing and excited about your life. And then the E is really, okay, now that we've discarded the noise, we've removed the roadblocks and the things that stop you from living your best life now, we've imagined a new life. Now let's go bigger. Now let's
Mm.
break the walls down and go even bigger. So now you can see that you can have wealth. Let's go this much bigger and go even more abundant. Imagine going beyond what's even fathomable. And so it takes you through some exercises to really keep that vibration high, to keep your emotions and your thought patterns in the most positive light, so you really can maximize the whole experience. And then part 3 of the book is really, it's a workbook. So it takes you through the Rewire system, recaps everything, and then gives you some time and space and some clear direction on how to actually go through the 6-week program. I'm super excited. I think this can really bring change to people and really have, so many. I mean, imagine the world if we had less stress and we obliterated all of the negative emotions and beliefs that stop us now, and we're living our best life. I mean, if
Yeah.
you were surrounded by an entire community like that, what would that feel like?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so excited. Like, I love it because, yes, like with people being just like less stressed and happier and doing what they're, meant to do, there just
Yeah.
be like the world would just be so much happier and full of joy. And, it wouldn't feel so hard, even though, life they'll still have like hard moments. Like it just won't feel as hard. And what I love about your system, from what you've said is like, it's all about like small changes that are doable and that it's only 6 weeks. Like it's crazy that you can just rewire your brain when you've like, been living for a while and you can just take
Yeah.
6 weeks to change your life. That's
Okay.
amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. And, I just thought to myself, like, this took me 30 years to unpack, but I think this is what I want my life's work to be. If I could give this as the greatest gift, and one of my intentions is to get in the education system as well, because we
Yeah.
need to teach this to kids. We need to teach them how to better manage themselves, how to tap into who they are so that they know from a very young age how to live their best life versus going through, stumbling through life like we did. And, you reach for one tool or you go through one 3-day weekend course and you come out super excited and you maybe grab a nugget or two and your week, your life changes for a few weeks, but eventually you go back to old patterns. And I
Mhm.
thought, well, what if we could just give people a whole new way of living? And that includes, educating people on why it's important to stay in this pattern. It's like, it's the difference between giving a man to fish and teaching a man to fish. I think we're
Yeah.
teaching the key tools, core life skills for people to learn how to start looking after themselves, how to start coaching themselves, and so that they can take this forward and then push it out to their communities as well.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I was going to ask kind of like what your mission for the book is, but I think you just kind of said it with everything you're doing. It's like really just, giving it to everyone and like seeing the ripple effects, and especially starting with kids, like, having people understand this at a young age so people don't have to suffer for as long as we have. And I'm very excited about, to see the impact that this book is going to have on the world. So
Oh,
thank
thank
you.
you. Yes.
Yeah, like thank you for taking all of your experience and putting into like this book that is, simplified.
Of course. Well, the book is actually going to turn into a coaching program as well, which we're about to launch, so that if people want to go deeper and have a live coach as they're doing the program, then that's exciting. And then, again, the intention is really to help people live their best life. So what does that look like? And I thought, coaching is all about, you know, bringing out the best in what a person already has. A coach is not, necessarily taking you down a whole different path. It's the best coaches work with you in the process, right? And
Right.
everybody I know that's successful, that has abundance in their life, that's happy, they all have personal and professional coaches. We go through life,
Mhm.
when we're younger, we have sports coaches, and then all of a sudden we stop. And I was
Right.
very fortunate to go through life, and once I hit a certain level of seniority in my career, I was immediately given leadership training, and I was in a career where coaching and mentorship was a structured program. And so I've seen the value of that from a very young age.
Yeah.
And the more, the most alive, the most excited, the most vibrant, and the most successful people I know continue to have coaches, multiple coaches, because if you're stuck in the same pattern, we clearly don't know what we're doing, right? So getting a coach helps us get outside of our comfort zone and
Mhm.
retrain and rebuild a whole new set of tools and then work through a plan. So, emotions create motion. It can be good or it can be bad. If I give you a quick example, if you
Yeah.
believe that you're not smart enough, resourceful enough to have a wealthy and abundant life, then you'll never have enough money to satisfy you. You'll always be wanting more. But
Right.
on the other hand, if you believe you're deserving of wealth and success, then all of the feelings and thoughts that go along with that work together, and you will find a way to have it in your life. It's so important to dive into that 95% of the unknown. 95% of your success and failure is in the subconscious, unconscious mind. I use them interchangeably, they're the same. But if you can
Right.
tap into that, you can uncover your true power. And it just takes a few minor tweaks and you can become a powerhouse. The mind, as I said earlier, it doesn't come with an instruction book, it's a computer. And your
Right.
computer is only as good as the operating system, which is that 95% of you. I know
Mhm.
the operating system for the mind, and most people, including me back in the day, and from time to time, we still do. We're us coaches, we're still human, right? So
Right.
most people need a little upgrade, and it's not a major upgrade. It's just minor upgrades to boost for maximum power. If you can learn the script that is your operating system, then you can learn how to upgrade it so you can be your best self. When you know the operating system, you can destroy negative thought patterns that slow you down and build a life with more love, better health, greater wealth, and have a life that really excites and motivates you. When you remove the obstacles, everything just becomes easier. You can absolutely retrain your brain in just 6 weeks. You'll have more time, more energy, more freedom. You'll have more joy. You'll shift to a mindset where you can create more wealth, deeper love, connections with your loved ones, and a life filled with passion and purpose. So you're not surviving, but thriving. I guarantee an exciting life if you just take one simple step to your future. Eliminate the negative emotions, destroy the cause of your stress, make your life a masterpiece.
Oh my
If you
gosh. I'm just like, I love it so much. I'm like, I am all about all of this. Like, where can people like get the book and learn more about the coaching that can go along with it?
Oh, thank you. Yes, they can go to getzend.com. That's getzend.com. Or just go to 6weekstohappy.com and start your journey today. Don't wait.
That's awesome. I love it. And do you want to give a little plug of like what gets in, like what other resources are there as well?
Sure, absolutely. We actually have an app that goes along. So as you're going through the book, 6 Weeks to Happy, most people don't know where to start with some of these tools. So we
Yeah.
built the app to work alongside the book.
Oh,
And so
cool.
you can take those tools with you on the go. And then also the 6 Weeks to Happy is turning into coaching programs. So we have 6 Weeks to Happy for individuals. We also have corporate programs for mental and emotional health. So it's 6 weeks to workplace wellness. So if you work with a big organization and you really want to boost performance in your organization, I mean, the fastest way to boost focus, productivity, and innovation is by learning how to manage your mental and emotional health. Because if you're not stressed, if you're not struggling with burnout or all of these, other epidemics that came with last year
Yeah.
and years before that, right? With the whole stress, we've been facing stress, since the 90s, I think we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
Being overworked. Well, how do you move past that? So we're really, really excited. So if you want more on the book or the app, the Get Send app, or any of our coaching programs, just go to the website and just have a look at our latest workshops. Also sign up for the newsletter. That's the best way to stay in touch and make sure you have the latest and greatest.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to put all of this in the show notes so that people can easily get to these resources that you have. And it's almost like you're making it so simple, like everyone should just be happy in the next 6 weeks. So
it just takes 6 weeks. There's an absolute end point.
I love it. And I always like to ask, how has being yourself led to your own happiness and success?
I always had a sense that I was going to do well, but we were immigrants. We moved from South Africa to Canada. And so it was a difficult path seeing my parents make that transition and, growing up and trying to figure it out just like everyone else was.
Yeah.
But I think this was definitely part of the journey. I think experiencing that feeling of not feeling like I was enough was part of what I was meant to do. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have had that curiosity I needed to want to study this so deeply and then want to simplify it for people so that they can actually get those results themselves. So it's definitely part of my journey. And, my friends and family will tell you, I think you find your way from uber stress to finding happiness, and you can't not see it in people, right? We feel people's energy. So you can feel when someone's energy around you is upset or tense or toxic or stressed in some way. And, our physical, visceral response, the actual response in our body just wants to close down, shut off, and pull away. If you're near someone that's, at peace and truly has found boundless energy and the happiness they seek and the ability to deeply connect with people and has created that sort of abundant, beautiful, charmed life. Aren't you drawn to that?
Yeah. It's like, I want to be around that person.
Exactly. You want to do that for yourself. So this is how you do it.
Awesome. I love it. And is there a message that you want to leave with people today?
Yeah, really just that you're not in it alone. And remember that emotions create motion. You can be in control of it. Dive into that 95%. If you remove the obstacles, when you remove the obstacles, everything will just feel easier. And you can retrain your brain in just 6 weeks. I guarantee you'll have an exciting life and just take one simple step to your future. Eliminate those negative emotions, destroy the cause of your stress forever, and just go for it. Go to 6weeks.tohappy.com and start your journey today. Don't wait. Life's too short.
It really is. I love this conversation so much. Thank you for sharing your
pleasure.
knowledge.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Be You podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends and write me a review. I would love to hear from you. And you can find me on Instagram at BeAutifulChick or on my website, BeAutifulChick.com. Remember, be you, be beautiful.